Good morning, everybody. Wipe the morning sleepies out of your eyes. Get ready. This is all about the Test 7 review. So let's jump right into it. First problem up. It is evening. What time is shown on the clock? Remember, when you write down time, you must make sure you are telling either AM or PM, right? AM is any time after 12 a.m. to 11:59 a.m. from midnight until 1 minute before noon. So right now, look at the hour. Looks like the hour is straight up 9 o'clock, right? And pretty easy one for the minutes then. Just count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20. So we got 9:20. The trickiest part here is remembering AM or PM. Since it is evening, that means it's 9:20 p.m. Not too tough to start off with, right? Check out this one. How many years were there from 1902 to 1969? Coming at you from lesson 35. You can always turn back if you don't remember this. These are always subtraction problems. The later time minus the earlier time equals the difference. And later in years means the bigger number, right? The one that comes later on. Well, 1969 came much later on compared to 1902. So we're going to start off with 1969 minus 1902. And they want us to go ahead and find the difference between these two numbers, the answer when we subtract them. So maybe we'll just use t for our variable. Do you have to go and isolate any variables? No, you don't. You just have to combine terms. 1969 minus 1902. Can you do that one mentally in your head? I'm hoping you kind of can. That was pretty easy. That's 67 years is the difference, or 67 equals t if I'm writing it out as an equation. Check out this one. Dangle the zero. I still see some people struggling with this. We got $1.25 up on top. You technically have no knowledge taught by me about how to multiply two-digit numbers. The only thing you technically know is to dangle the zero. And where I'm seeing the big mistake, a couple of different ones, some people are just forgetting to bring that zero down. Some people are setting it up wrong. They're putting the zero up on top. Don't even worry about that zero until the very end. Let's start off here. 4 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. I'm going to write down my 0. I'm going to carry my 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 more. Hey, that makes 10. And our last one, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 more is 5. Now would be a good time to bring down your 0. And the other big problem I see is dollar signs and decimal points. If you have 2 places for decimal points in the problem, you got to bring your decimal point 2 places. I see some people trying to put in a decimal point with 3 digits at the end. That is unheard of in money. Bring your dollar sign in and you have a straight up $50. Check out this one, kind of a combination of the two. So I gave you 2 reminders here. You can only multiply 2 numbers together at a time. You have to start off here with 8 times 12. Well, 8 times 12, I'm not sure if you can do this in your head or not. Technically, that's 96. And then you're going to take that 96 and multiply it by 20. And you're going to want to dangle your 0 on that one again, right? So let's go 96 times 20, dangling a 0. No dollar sign or decimal point this time though, so that makes it a little bit easier. Don't even worry about that 0 until the very end. He's just going to go straight down into the bottom. Let's start off 2 times 6. Hey, that's 12. Write down my 2. I'm going to carry my 1, right? Then I'm going to go 2 times 9 is 18, plus 1 more. That makes 19. So I have 192 so far, but I have not brought my 0 down. That changes it to 1,920. Our old friend, the factor. Remember, when you list factors, start by thinking, what times what equals 21? Remember your divisibility rules. List your factors in order from least to greatest. To be successful on this endeavor, you have to do all these steps. Start off with the easy one, 1 times 21. The divisibility rules I know is you're supposed to think about, is it even? Hey, no it's not, so I don't have to worry about 2. Does it end in 0 or 5? No it doesn't, so I don't have to worry about 5. Does it end in 0? No, it does not, so I don't have to worry about 10. But there is other factors. Do you see them? It is 3 times 7. Those are your factors, but now in order to list them, now we need to move in to least to greatest mode. So I have 1, 3, 7, and 21 for my final answer for my factors. Not too tough yet. Don't fall asleep on me, and for sure, do not hit fast forward. Check out this guy. From lesson 21, the old number of groups times the number in each group is going to give you the total. You got to read each line carefully and get that picture in your brain. This one, for my money, I think is the toughest story problems we have. So the gas tank in Mario's car holds 16 gallons of gas. 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. And they want to know, how many quarts of gas does Mario's gas tank hold? How many quarts if it holds 16 gallons? Well, if the gas tank only held 1 gallon, that would be 4 quarts, right? If it was a 2-gallon tank, that would be 8 quarts. If it was a 3-gallon tank, it would be 12, and so on. Do you see it now? The number of groups is the gallons. It holds 16 gallons. The number in each group, there's 4 quarts in each gallon. And they want to know what the total is. Maybe I'll use a variable of T for tank. Now let's just go ahead. Combine your terms. 16 times 4. 16 times 4, hey, that's going to be 64, right? There's 64 quarts in a 16-gallon tank. Make sure you don't make a mistake and end up dividing this. And if you go about it step by step, you should catch yourself. Check out this guy, round 83 to the nearest 10. We always say, let's underline the digit in the nearest 10 and then look to the neighbor to the right. If it's 5 or more, we're going to round the tens digit up 1. If it's less than 5, we're going to leave it alone and write in a 0. Basically, we're saying, is this closer to 80 or is it closer to 90? Because the neighbor to the right is only 3, I'm not going to round them up. I'm going to keep them as 8. Change that other digit into a 0. 83 is closer to 80 for rounding purposes. We're going to do this one again, only this time with the nearest hundreds. 582. 5 is the digit in the hundred spot. Look to the neighbor to the right. Hey, the neighbor this time is more than 5, so I'm going to change 5 into 6. Everything else is zeros. 582 is closest to 600. Remember this one, do the work in parentheses first, and the key word here is do the work. Just don't say, oh, they're the same digits, because do you really have a handle on that associative property that well? I'm not sure if everybody in the room does. Do the work in parentheses first. 10 minus 5 is 5. So now you got to think about 20 minus 5, and that's 15. Watch how it plays out on the other side. Same digits, different parentheses. 20 minus 10, hey, that's 10. Take that answer, subtract it from the other one. 10 minus 5, that's 5. You're comparing 15 to 5, and it's very easy to see if you do the work. Check out this one. Which one of these angles is a right angle? Well, right angles are 90 degrees. Anything less than 90 degrees, like this little guy, we call a cute little angle. Over here for this guy, he's larger than 90 degrees. He's obtuse. Last one here, this guy is your right angle. Check out these guys, our old friend dividing with one twist. And judging by the Socrative quiz this morning, we probably want to run through this just a couple of times. The big secret is being neat, knowing where to start, and keeping track of your quotient digits. If I'm starting dividing in a 48, I'm going to have a digit above the 8, a digit above the 6, and a digit above that 4. Let's start off. 8 divides into 48 6 whole times, right? Going to multiply her back for 48. It's going to subtract for 0. Not too tough yet. Bring down my next number, which is a 6. I start the whole process all over again. How many times does 8 divide into 6? Well, if I said 1, that would be too large, right? The only number that'll work is 0. 0 times 8 is 0. Multiplying it back for 0, subtracting it for 6, bringing down my next number, which is a 4, and I'm parking it right next door to that 6. Third time through, 64 divided by 8. 8 times what is going to get me close to 64? That answer is 8. Multiplies back for 64, and it's finally going to subtract for 0. So my whole answer is 608. Let's try it again, only written in a slightly different form. This time they want us to divide 3,000 divided by 4. They're just using a division bar, right? So let's go and always put it in the box though. 3,000 is the dividend. 4 is my divisor. Let's figure out where we're going to start. I'm going to start dividing into 30, right? So that means I want a quotient number here, I want a quotient number here, and I want one here. Any remainders are going to be written off here onto the side. Let's go ahead and start dividing. 30 divided by 4. You got to think. 4 times what gets you close to 30? In this case, it's going to be 7. Multiplies back for 28. It's going to subtract for 2. You're going to bring down your next 0 and park it right next to that 2. And I'm ready to start dividing all over again. This time, 20 divided by 4, hey, that's 5. Multiply it back for 20, subtract it for 0, and you have one more number to bring down, right? Don't think you're done yet, because you have one more quotient digit to write up here. So we better bring that number down, park it right here. Double 0 divided by 4. 4 times what is going to give me 0? In this case, the answer is 0. Technically, you should multiply it back for 0, and you should subtract it for 0. Just always be in that habit, because if I divide, you always have to multiply back, and you always have to subtract. Your answer is 750. Coming at us from lesson 13, where the big lesson to know right now is, if one number is written with a decimal point, they all must be written with a decimal point, right? The big mistake I see is kids trying to line up like this or over here. But the truth of the matter is that you would go and line up at the decimal point. You would have to go and write in the decimal point on this $10. Then you'd be able to successfully subtract it, right? That's all it takes. $10 minus $6.45, and let's get ready to subtract. 0 minus 5, can't do it. Go to the neighbor, say, hey man, can I borrow one? He says, I'm broke too. He has to go to his neighbor. He says, nope, I'm wiped out. He finally goes to the 1, and don't skip steps. The biggest mistake I see is people, for whatever reason, thinking they're too cool to do all the steps, one step at a time. And that is where all our mistakes are happening. So if you just go step by step by step and write everything in, it's pretty painless. Again, though, the big thing I see is people in the ones place here crossing this out and making him a 9. And I say for the 53rd time, who's he borrowing to? He has nobody on the right side of him, right? You're not going to cross this guy out and write a 9 up here. He's going to stay at 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 4, hey, that's 5. 9 minus 6, that gives us 3. 0 minus nothing is nothing or 0. But do you start a number with 0? You don't go to somebody, hey buddy, can I borrow $3? No, nothing is the same as 0. So just bring down your dollar sign, and $3.55 it is. Check out this guy. The arrow is pointing to what number on the number line. Now, every so often, especially after lesson 37, not 27, people sometimes start thinking the answer here is a mixed number. Take two of your numbers. We have 80 and we have 60, correct? What's the difference between 80 and 60? And by difference, I mean the answer when you subtract. The answer when I subtract those two numbers, that's 20. You have a 20-point spread between these two numbers. Next step, count the number of unit segments, the space, not the lines, right? I have 4 total spaces. Each one of those spaces is exactly the same size. So let's go ahead and divide by the number of unit segments. Hey, that's 5. So now that I know that, that means this line here would be 65, because I'm going to go 60 plus 5 is 65. If I go 65 plus 5 more, that's 70. And if I go 70 plus 5 more, that's 75. And if I go 75 plus 5 more, that's 80, right? So I know I'm on the right track. Now that I have it written in, the arrow is definitively pointing at 75, right? Check out this guy. Which figure is not a polygon? If you looked it up in the back of their book, and you could, it would say a polygon is any shape formed by line segments, any enclosed shape formed by line segments. Line segments are straight pieces of line. So that's an enclosed shape made by line segments. This is an enclosed shape made by line segments. This little pentagon guy over here, he's an enclosed shape made up of line segments. The guy who could not be a polygon is our friend the circle here. Why? A circle is not made up of line segments. He is enclosed, but that's not a line segment going on right there, not in the world of geometry. And that is the end. As always, there is no Socrative quiz. As soon as you are feeling confident, come up, get your paper. We can start doing this. Good luck.